This is the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 and it's mine. So clearly it's not brand new. So if you're wondering why we're wasting our time, precious time shooting this motorcycle, well, if you look closely you'll find that it has a few different elements compared to the stock motorcycle. A modified Interceptor 650, and from as I see it, this is a much nicer motorcycle. And I'm not the only one who thinks that, because the three BikeWale guys who rode the motorcycle also thought that this Interceptor is an improvement over the stock one. And because they thought that, we thought we should bring these changes to you, our viewers, so that you can also apply those changes to the motorcycle, not just the Interceptor, but to any bike. So we've made the changes to the Interceptor, but you can use the same concept and apply it to any bike that you ride. So now let's dig deeper and see what these changes are. Now we've categorized these modifications into three broad categories. You've got the simple ones, the manageable ones, and the real complex ones. Now the simple ones are as simple as going to an RE showroom and picking them off the shelf, or using their MIY app and configuring the motorcycle to have these bits. Let's look what these things are in more detail. There's the tall fly screen, since it makes the bike look sportier. There are black fuel injector covers and front fork gaiters because, well, these make the bike look nicer too. And there's a crash guard because, well, if you ride long enough, hard enough, you will eventually crash. I did, and I was happy that I had this on. Then you have the touring seat and the touring mirrors. Both the touring seat and the mirrors are a must-have in my opinion. The seat improves the comfort both in the city and on highway rides significantly. Same with the mirrors. The view is better, there's more adjustability, and, well, again, these look better. I've also taken off the fender extensions front and rear, and I know these would be sorely missed in the monsoons, but hey, they improved the stance, so it's hard to keep them on. And now to the more manageable changes, and the cheapest of those changes is the Zana tail rack that we've put. We've also added a chat box. The box is not here, but the plate is here. And it's a really handy thing whether you're going to office, you want a small bag, tail bag, or you're going over the weekend. It's a very sensible thing to have instead of mounting the tail bag here, which I used to do. And so you've still got seating available for two people. Next big change is the handlebar. Now we wanted to change the ergos of the motorcycle because I just needed a handlebar that was wider and taller. Now you have handlebar risers that you can go for, and a lot of brands sell those, but it's just a more direct connect if you don't use a riser. And this high-rise handlebar from Renthal is the one that I chose, and it's completely, it now gives me more leverage when I'm riding, and it's closer to me. I can move it the way I want it. And then changing the seating ergos, we put in the Conti GT foot pegs instead of the regular Interceptor foot pegs. Now those foot pegs were here, a little lower and in front, and they were a pain to use, especially when you're riding in traffic. They used to keep hitting your leg, your shin, and it was painful. Plus you'd have to sit with your feet wide apart. This allows you to now, you can pedal through traffic. They just fold, they don't hit you, and overall they just are a sportier setting, so you're able to hold the tank better. And if you look at the seating ergos now, they are more Duke-like. So you've got a slightly upright handlebar, rear set foot pegs, but it gives you a greater sense of control and sportiness when you're riding. So this is what I liked, and yeah, these are part of our manageable changes, and there's one more nice manageable change we've managed to do. And now let's just make you hear what the exhaust sounds like at a standstill. So we're going to do it at idle, and then we're going to just blip it till 2000 RPM, and then we'll blip it to 3.5, between 3.5 and 4, and you will hear how the note changes. It gets a little louder at 3.5 and 4, but it's still a nice rich sounding exhaust. love it. Now, putting on the slip-on exhaust is something I debated on for the longest time. I knew the stock mufflers were super heavy, but whatever I found in the aftermarket or the replacement market were significantly lighter, but these were also too loud for my tastes. Then I chanced upon the MotoWings Trident. The pair costs 16,500 bucks, so these aren't exactly very expensive. These come with a lifetime warranty against rust or manufacturing defects, and of course these are lighter. But more importantly, even though these are louder than stock, I still wouldn't call them loud. They're just sweeter sounding. We sound tested them and there was barely 2 decibel difference between the stock and the Trident at idle. This difference fell to under a decibel at 2000 RPM, and it's only past 3500 RPM that difference in sound levels is more pronounced. But again, it isn't loud enough to give you a headache or to get the dogs to chase after you. And now let's move to the last bit, which is the complex and more expensive modification that we've done to the motorcycle. And first up, we've got YSS suspension. We've got YSS at the front and at the back. We'll start with the front. Now, front is a simple setup. You've got preload adjustment. You also get emulator valves. So before you drop them into the forks, you can adjust the compression damping a bit. And then you've got springs and you've got spacers. So that setup goes in, you just open the top cap and drop everything down. It's a simple thing to do if you know. And of course, recommended that you change the fork oil. The stock fork oil is just too thin, and you won't be able to take complete benefit of the suspension. So go for a medium weight, and I think that helps. Preload, it makes a big difference, and if you are to make just one change to the motorcycle, I think changing the front suspension to this upgrade kit would be the thing to do, because it completely changes how the Interceptor behaves, be it whether you're commuting or you're going out on a tour, good roads, bad roads. It just feels more settled. It doesn't bottom out as much as the stock one. It doesn't dive as much under braking, so you can use the brakes better, weigh it up more. And everything that you feel on a motorcycle begins at the front. So I think this is the one upgrade that you must definitely do. That's not something we can say about the rear fully adjustable coilover units from YSS. For starters, these cost in excess of rupees 60,000, and for someone who has the feel, the understanding and the knowledge of playing around with compression and rebound damping, maybe these might work. Sadly, I'm not that gifted. So every time I go out, because I know I can change things, I change the settings, all in a bid to find that elusive setting of compression and rebound damping that will return both a plush ride and alert handling. And I'm still trying to find the correct setting. And now to the truly complex and wonderful, the upgrade to alloy wheels. But like they say, the bigger the ask, the bigger the reward. Now, I wanted tubeless tires from the start. The stock Interceptor comes with tube type, and the last thing you want at the end of a long ride is to have a puncture, not have anybody around you to help you fix it, no puncture guy, and it's also very difficult to get the wheel off the rim on the stock motorcycle. So tubeless is certainly that I had to go for tubeless tires. So we wanted to upgrade to alloys. And since the upgrade was happening and we were going to alloys, we thought, why not move to 17 inches? Now, the stock is 18 inches, and 18 inches don't really give you great tire options, especially if you want something light, something grippy, something feelsome. 17s do. You've got plethora of options there, and so that's what we went for. But the switch to alloy wheels, these new 17-inch alloy wheels, was a really tedious task, and you need to know the right person to be able to do it, because not everybody can do it. And I just happen to know such a guy, Joshua Crasto. He runs JC Moto. We've built 3 project bikes together, and he's never ever said no to anything, whether it's possible, impossible, whatever. His first reaction to everything is yes, we can. And this is the end result. So it wasn't easy. We had to get some spacers in place, we had to get some fabrication work done, we had to do some welding in place, but eventually this is the result that I wanted. and it's a brilliant result. The bike rides beautifully, and in equal measure, if not more, it's down to these tires as well, which we'll talk about in a little detail right now. Now the tires. I went for TVS's Eurogrip's latest high-performance tires called the Protog Extremes because these are steel-belted radials, lighter, and come with a lot of promise. I had ridden them at the Chennai track on the race RR310s, and these felt brilliant at the time. Grippy, full of feel and light, and even on the road, strapped onto the Interceptor, the end result is fantastic. With this setup, the Interceptor feels at least 30 to 40 kgs lighter in the way it responds and behaves to inputs. It drops into corners with newfound urgency and lightness, and there's more feel too. You'd think it's a completely different motorcycle. Then the Eurogrips, like in their names, there's a lot of grip and feel, and you end up carrying a lot more speed and lean into corners than you thought possible on the Interceptor. What's more, when exiting corners, you can get on the throttle early and you can be more aggressive with the throttle without the motorcycle skipping, wallowing, or feeling mute. Even the quick direction changes. They feel light and effortless and eager. And thanks again to the tires, the braking has improved too. More feel and shorter stopping distances. So there you have it. My Deadpool, an Interceptor just the way I want it. Now don't get me wrong, the stock Interceptor is a great motorcycle too. I mean, that's one of the reasons I bought it. It's got a great engine, great gearbox, lovely chassis. But what I wanted at the end is a motorcycle that looked like that. You know, old school charm, but rode like a new, modern, sporty motorcycle. And what we've managed to do here is just that. Now, I love the results, but you can tell me what you thought about the modifications that we've made to Deadpool, and tell us if you would like to see more modification stories just like this. Thank you for watching.